I have Becca Danielsen with me here today on SACTV.com. Becca, you're a musician who plays guitar and bass and what else?
That's all.
But that's it. So you said to me in another segment that you started playing guitar around the late 70s.
Yeah.
That's actually when I started around 76, but I didn't really become intermediate till several years later. How long did it take you to develop guitar skills?
Well, I think when I started taking guitar lessons, I did really well with the lessons, but there was no one to play with or jam with, and that's what I was missing, and I became disillusioned and I put the guitar down. I didn't play for probably about 10 years. So then I decided I wanted to take lessons again, so I started up with lessons, and I really enjoyed it. But that performance anxiety thing was kind of creeping back in, and I didn't want to play in front of anyone. So I kind of just hibernated in my room and hid it from people. You know, no one knew that I was playing. I was getting pretty good behind closed doors, but
Okay.
nobody was hearing me.
Practiced a lot?
Oh, yeah, I would play my guitar for hours.
Uh-huh. I mean, when I heard you play, you sound like you're very confident in how you play, and it seems like confidence is one of those main things that has to be there. In other words, you can't just pick up a guitar and learn all the stuff from a textbook, and you know, if the confidence isn't there, it just seems like nothing's there. You know what I mean?
Well, you do have to practice a lot, but I think having someone to play with is more important. And I mean, playing by yourself, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But playing with another person is fun. And if they know more than you do, they will mentor you. I've been very fortunate to be mentored by Ken Koenig, who produced my CD, and also currently being mentored by Chuck Weeks, who's a fantastic bass player, teaching me bass.
Okay.
And he's darn good on guitar, too, and just always amazes me what he does on guitar.
What is it about guitar that you like? Is it is it more than a tool for writing songs? Is it you love playing it when you perform?
Yes, I do. And I love the sound of acoustic guitar. I've had electric guitars, and I've played electric in bands, and it wasn't as fun. To me, you can go from that soft, melodic, beautiful song into playing something, you know,
groovy,
something hard and a harder song, a hard rock kind of song. You can still play that on acoustic.
That's true. That's true. So, did it take you from the time that you started taking lessons again, the second time around? How long do you think it took you to accelerate to become to a level where you were confident for performance, public performance?
Well, I think. Again, I think probably a year later I could have been out performing had I not had the performance anxiety.
Okay.
I mean,
So do you think that's psychological, or do you think there's other factors? You know, was it just in your internal fear, or were there other factors?
I don't know. I was just scared.
Because you hadn't done it before, right?
I hadn't done it before, and I think maybe some things happened to me when I was growing up that made me afraid to try to go out and perform.
Here's why I ask these questions. To me, and this is just my opinion, I'm not an expert on the universe, just a student. To me,
we're all students.
Fear is almost an illusion. In other words, sometimes it's manufactured. And just internally, and a lot of times what it represents is simply the unknown.
Well, people do fear the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
They fear what they don't understand, and they fear the unknown. I totally agree with that thinking. For myself, if the thought of getting up in front of someone and performing would make me sick. To me, it felt really real.
but now, here we are in 2012. Do you still have that fear when you get in front of a crowd?
Oh, it's there, and it rears its ugly head occasionally, but it doesn't impair me anymore.
do you feel you are in control now?
Absolutely. And there's been times where it's reared its ugly head, and I have just had to beat it down and just say, I'll be fine. And perhaps maybe someone is sitting too close to me and staring at me while I'm playing, that can do it to me. You know, I'm like, oh, I wish they wouldn't do that, you know. And I just have to have a little talk with myself. You know, you're okay, keep going, you're all right.
I'm curious
And
about,
I work through it.
I like talking with musicians because I'm a musician myself and I learn from musicians, you know. What's interesting to me is guitar seems like one of the hardest instruments to really master, besides violin or something like that. I know piano can be very complex if you're trying to learn classical music. Do you think once you get to a certain level then it becomes really easy, or do you think that it's always kind of it requires practice to really sound good all the time?
Well, I think in the beginning it requires a tremendous amount of patience and practice because you're getting your hands to make shapes that they've never made before.
Yeah.
It's just like when I started learning jazz chords, I couldn't get my fingers to do what I wanted them to do, and that frustrated me. But I kept at it, and so now I can do that.
You know what I learned is that your fingers have to have little brains on the tips. And those little brains have to be connected to this brain, the control central control, whatever. And that if that happens, if there's a connection between your brain and all these other little brains, then it helps advance at guitar. But before I started thinking that way, I found myself being a clumsy guitarist. You know, not really. Part of it is I started out left-handed.
Oh.
And then I was told, no, you better learn to play right-handed. I had no rhythm in my right hand, though, so it took years to overcome that.
I think as you play guitar longer, you gain a confidence and ability so that, let's say you're sitting and you're watching someone play something and you want to do what they're doing. You know, based on what you've already learned on the guitar and what you can play, you know you can, with some practice, do what they're doing. So I think it comes easier to you because you've had success already, and so you know you will have success again. I know in my case that's how it's worked for me. When I stumble over something I want to learn, I just tell myself, well, you've learned other things that you stumbled over, so you will learn this too. And then I learn it quicker because I tell myself I can.
Goes back to confidence, right?
Yeah.
Another little trick. I like to, talk about little techniques and guitar tricks for people to learn from. In the very beginning, when I took a guitar class, a teacher told me something that no one else has ever told me before, but I'm sure other people know this, that if you just play really slowly, especially notes, it becomes more ingrained in your mind, and then you can excel just from doing that, just from learning, instead of trying to learn all this busy stuff right away.
Well, you can't do busy stuff right away.
Yeah.
No,
That's why it doesn't work. If you try to be ahead of your own talent, then it's not
your
going.
skill level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learning things slowly at first is important, especially if it has to be played fast for the end result.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start slow with your metronome.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to really lock it in, and then you can bring it faster and faster. Can't just expect to jump in fast.
Can't be Jimi Hendrix, when you're born.
That's right.
Unless you're Jimi Hendrix. But,
right.
So anyway, to me the guitar is my favorite instrument. How about you? What's your favorite?
It's my favorite instrument, but I'm really starting to love bass.
Okay.
It was frustrating to me to find someone that I could sit and jam with or play with. And nowadays when you take lessons, there's going to be other people taking lessons that they can connect you with.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was growing up, it just didn't seem to be the case. So it's just changed, and it's so much for the better. Open mics, there's all the open mics now.
That's a great way.
Where you can go out.
Ken Koenig, I've played with him at open mic.
He did the open mic at the Beach Hut for a while.
Okay, right.
It was very popular when he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken doesn't mind doing it for a while, but he prefers, regular performance.
Mm-hmm. Originals.
Yeah, he does. And he's a great songwriter.
Becca, thanks for joining me on SACTV.com.
Thank you for having me.